أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. My fellow Muslims, it is with great pleasure and excitement seeing our faces here this morning, this afternoon, this evening, depending on where you are. And we give praises and thank our Almighty Allah for enabling us to converge here for no any other reason than to share the message of Allah and the message of our beloved Prophet Mohammed sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As the Ramadan continues, we also continue with this program as part of our way of ibadah, sharing knowledge and exchanging ideas among ourselves. And I welcome you to all this program with Islamic greeting. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Today we are going to look at the status of women in a beautiful religion, Islam. Some of you might not know that the global world is observing Women's Day, and here at the United Nations headquarters in New York, women are going to be floating the area. They'll come for a meeting for the status of women in the world. So we took a decision to include this in our lecture to tell people that it's not only everything. Islam has covered everything, and in Islam, we also recognize the value of women among us. So without taking much time, I'll hand over the mic to the speaker, Imam Dr. Shamsi Ali, to continue. Imam, Bismillah.
Thank you, Brother Salam. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillahi alladhi khalaqa as-samawati wal-ard wa ja'ala adh-dhulumati wan-nur thumma alladhina kafaru bi rabbihim ya'dilun. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah la nabiyya ba'dah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa kulli man tabi'a hudahu wa istamsaka bi sunnatihi ila yawmiddin wa ba'd. We would like first to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this opportunity that we can come together virtually, inshallah, to learn our deen. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with us, and also may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our fast. Normally when we talk or when we lecture during the month of Ramadan, people tend to talk about fasting or Ramadan itself. But in today's lecture, inshallah, I'm going to deal with some other issues. That is because in these coming days, a week, there will be a 1 week conference at the United Nations, particularly designated to talk about the status of women. And so I think it is very important as well that we Muslims must understand our own religious views about the status of women in Al-Islam. And the importance of this issue is even relevant to the reality that women are a half of ours. Without the women, our life is not complete, and similarly without the man, woman's life without complete. So women and men in Islam are considered libas that cover each other. Hunna libasul lakum wa antum libasun lahunna. They are garment for you, and you are garments for them. So before coming to what Islam actually says about the status of women and their rights and so on and so forth, I would like to briefly also remind us that mistreatment and discrimination or inhuman treatment towards the woman have been happening throughout of the history. Unfortunately, in many ways, people always see into mispractices, if so, happens within the Muslim world. And that is one of the things that we have to be critical, that when the people talk about issues, including the woman, and it happens or something bad happens, normally they will directly relate it to Al-Islam. But when those bad things happen to others, not many actually is talking about their religion. And so misunderstandings and even accusations towards the al-Islam have been so prominent in a way that people are talking that Islam mistreats the woman. And of course, there are several possible causes to this. It might be because of the ignorance itself, that people don't know what Islam is all about. Secondly, there is an intentional plan to actually damaging the true face of Islam. And also, of course, we have to acknowledge the existing mispractices among the Muslims. And sometimes in the name of Islam, we mistreated the woman, but actually it's nothing to do with Islam. So this happened in some Muslim majority lands. But coming back to the point that I would like to underline briefly, that throughout of the history, women have been mistreated or treated unfairly, unjustly. Let's begin from the ancient Mesopotamia. Women are kind of property. Women were forced to marry. They're just like property. I mean, you can marry, you can sell whatever you want to do with the woman. That is Mesopotamia. We read about the history of ancient Egypt, for example. Women's status also determined by their male, either husband or father, and they don't have anything to say about their life and themselves. We go to the ancient Greece, and that is 8th century to 14th century actually, and the Romans even 8th century and 476 Christ. Women are still excluded from many rights, including political rights. Even they are subjected to sell themselves as prostitutes, and we see this stuff still continues in the midst of those who claim themselves to be the descendants of Greece and Roman people. And I'm talking about the Western society, to be open, to be frank, to be honest, that women are still subjected to this situation, prostitution, selling themselves. And sometimes all these are called in the beautiful names, emancipations, freedom, and so on and so forth. This is the history, and it continues till today. Pre-Islamic Arabia, before Islam came to Arabia, of course, we know that the Arab people, particularly those who are in the upper class status, they didn't want to have girls. So they normally buried their girls alive, and it is mentioned in the Holy Quran. Such inhumane practices that happened before Islam came. Even when we talk about during the colonial times, imperialism, let's say 15th to 20th century, exploitations and violence towards women, still happening, and it's happening. And sexual harassment, sexual exploitations, and human trafficking. And once again, it still continues today. And this is the mindset and the behaviors of those who have that colonial mindset. That women are sold, trafficked for the worldly interests. All these, brothers and sisters, actually led into the birth of so-called feminist movements in the Western society. It didn't happen in the Islamic society, by the way. It happened in Europe. And it means that feminism or feminist movement actually in response to the existence of mistreatments of the woman in that society. And so we have to understand that mistreatment of women in Europe, particularly among the Christians and Catholic society, led into the birth of feminist movement. And now, sometime when we talk about feminism and we talk about feminist movement, we think about that they are coming or they existed in order to free the woman in the Muslim world, but actually to free the woman in the Western society. Now, coming into the status of the woman in Al-Islam, there is no doubt that Islam plays a very high status, an equal status to the woman. But let me, before talking further, I would like to clarify about the terminologies between equality and sameness. Because there are some people tend to define equality to sameness. It means same. The Holy Quran emphasizes that وَلَيْسَ الذَّكَرْ كَالْأُنْثَى. The women are not same, or the men are not same to the woman, or the women are not same to the man. So there is no, both are not same, but they are all equal in the sight of Islam. So we have to differentiate between being same and equal. Now, coming back to Islam and equality, let's begin with the creation itself. In the Holy Quran, it is mentioned that human beings were created from the same source of creation. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي خَالِقٌ بَشَرًا مِنْ طِينٍ. And when your Lord said to the angels, I am creating humans from clay. So both sides, man and woman, were created from the clay, from the same natural creation. Now, how about this hadith that some people say that women were created from the dila, from the rib of the man? The interpretations are different opinions of the scholars, but among the interpretation is that ribs here is more into a kind of parable, example. When a man came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and asked him, a woman actually came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and protested about her husband's mistreatment of her, or he was very harsh to her. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam then called that man and said to him that the woman is created from the rib. In one narration, it says the woman is similar to the ribs. Now, what does it mean, similar or like the rib? It means it protected the most sensitive and important element of our body, our heart itself. Woman is very close to our heart, and it is very much important to be protected. So the issue of creating the woman from the rib is something debatable. The Holy Quran says man or woman were created from the clay. The word bashar actually is including imra'atun, woman. And even in the Holy Quran, we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, هُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَكُم مِّن نَفْسٍ وَاحِدَةٍ وَجَعَلَ مِنْهَا زَوْجَهَا لِيَسْكُنَ إِلَيْهَا. Now, the word nafs wahida, from one soul, of course, it's translated into Adam alayhi salatu wasalam. But again, it doesn't mean that the women are created from different nature of creations. There are a lot of interpretations about this. This is the first one, equal in terms of originality of creation. The second one is equality or equal rights and accountability. And I would like to begin with the story of Adam alayhi salatu wasalam in Jannah. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَقُلْنَا يَا Adam, and we said, O Adam, uskun anta wa zawjuka al-jannah, leave you or stay you and your wife. Allah doesn't say stay you and bring with you your wife. Stay you and you. Wawu here, wawul ma'iyah, together with your wife. Uskun anta wa zawjuka al-jannah, both of you live equal in Jannah. Wakula is called muthanna in Arabic language. Both of you have the right. Wakula have the right to eat. Wakula minha ragadan haythu shi'tuma. It doesn't say, Adam, eat as you like and give some to your wife. وَكُلَا مِنْهَا رَغَدًا حَيْثُ شِئْتُمَا. And then there is equality in front of the law, accountability. وَلَا تَقْرَبَا, both of you, equally both. It is the commandment is not only to Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, or not only to Hawa alayhi salatu wasalam, but both equally. وَلَا تَقْرَبَا هَذِهِ الشَّجَرَةَ, don't come close to this tree. فَتَكُونَا, both of you will bear the consequences when you are violating the law. So again, it is very clear from the Holy Quran that there are equal rights and accountability in Islam. Even the ayah, what it says, وَمَنْ عَمِلَ صَالِحًا مِنْ ذَكَرٍ أَوْ أُنْثَى وَهُوَ مُؤْمِنٌ فَلَنَحْيِيَنَّهُ حَيَاةً طَيِّبَةً. مُؤْمِنًا ذَكَرْ وَأُنْثَى. When you do good, you have the right to achieve a comfortable life here in this world. The next right I would like to mention is equal spiritual potential. And it is mentioned in many places in the Holy Quran. But I'd like to mention particularly from chapter 33, ayah number 35, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَنْ عَمِلَ صَالِحًا مِنْ ذَكَرٍ أَوْ أُنْثَى وَهُوَ مُؤْمِنٌ فَلَنُحْيِيَنَّهُ حَيَاةً طَيِّبَةً. I mentioned this before actually. So both male and female have the right to enjoy this life and to have a spiritual growth by doing amal salih. It is not only men here. The next one is equal roles in humans' life. I mean, both fathers and mother are mentioned in terms of reproduction. The modern term is called reproduction. So Allah says in Surah Al-Hujurat, verse number 13, Ya ayyuhan nasu inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha. O mankind, verily we created from male and female. So untha is mentioned along with male because there will be no reproduction without both sides. And that is why this is one of the most important arguments that absolutely not only that it is fahsha, but it is a way that humans are not reproduced if there is so-called same-sex marriage. So dhakar wa untha is a strong argument here. This is number 3. And number 4. Number 5 is the right to education. Of course, the hadith is very popular. That talabul ilmi faridatun ala kulli muslimin wa muslimatin. But also the commandment to read, Iqra, is for both sides. Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. So men and women have the equal right to education. And therefore, when the accusation to Taliban, that Taliban doesn't allow the woman to seek education, I say if it is true, I am the first person to resist and to be against it. Because it is not only against a human right, it is against the teaching of Allah and the teaching of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is very clear on this. And the next one is the right to property and financial independence. There is no doubt about that. And as we talk about human civilization before, that even up to 18th century, even 19th century actually in Europe, women have the right to this particular right, property and financial independence. But the Holy Quran from the 7th century says, لِلرِّجَالِ نَصِيبٌ مِمَّا تَرَكَ الْوَالِدَانِ وَالْأَقْرَبُونَ وَلِلنِّسَاءِ نَصِيبٌ مِمَّا تَرَكَ الْوَالِدَانِ وَالْأَقْرَبُونَ. So both sides have the right to that property and financial independence. Where in Europe, up till 18th or 19th century, or even 20th century actually, women are still struggling to have this right for them. The next one that I would like to mention is the right to marriage and family. And there are many hadith actually mentioned about this. وَأَنْكِحُوا الْأَيَامَ مِنْكُمْ وَعِبَادِكُمْ وَإِمَائِكُمْ. This ayah actually commanded the Muslims to marry both male and female. But the right for the woman to decide for themselves in order to marry is clearly mentioned in the hadith. When a girl came to Rasulullah sallam, cried And Rasulullah asked her, what happened to you? And she said, do we girls have the right to say no to our fathers? And the Prophet ﷺ said, what has happened? What happened? He said, my father married me to my cousin, And the Prophet ﷺ asked her, did you accept that? She said in the beginning, no. So the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, the marriage didn't happen. If you didn't agree, it didn't happen. What does it mean? The decision must be in your hand. Father may suggest, this is what we call arranged marriage, is not to force the girl to marry. Arranged marriage is arrangement. It's not force. Arrangement. What does it mean, arrangement? You suggest, you tell your daughter that I have someone who is good. What do you think? Or I know someone that according to my view, he's a very nice boy. What do you think? That is what arrangement is all about. But you don't have any right to force your daughter to marry, not forcing. So there's a difference between arrangement and forcing here. So this is the right to marriage and maintaining the family. And also the right to care for the family and so on and so forth. And there are many hadith, finally, I would like to mention about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When he says, for example, and when we talk about Prophet Muhammad and the woman, take your mind into the 7th and 8th century, not 21st century, not 20th century, 7th or 8th or even 6th century actually. And this is the man that Allah appointed to the Prophet says all this. What he says, أكمل المؤمنين إيمانا أحسنهم خلقا وخيركم خيركم لنسائهم وأنا خيركم لنسائهم. The most perfect one in his faith is the best in his character. And the best one of you in his character is the most respectful one to his woman. And I am the best respectful one to his woman. Look at that. What Rasulullah said, this is not in the 21st century. Imagine again, you are living in the 7th century and someone says to you that you are not perfect. You are not complete in your character, in your akhlaq, unless you respect your woman. And the best among you is the best to his woman. This is the Prophet of Islam in the 7th and 8th century says this. And he says in the hadith, which is very popular among us, Al-Jannatu tahta aqdamil ummahat. Paradise lies under the feet of the mother. It means you want paradise? Uplift, raise your mother in order to have the key of the paradise under the feet of your mother. Embrace your mother, lift up your mother, honor your mother, respect your mother. Look at this. This is the 6th century, 7th century Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says. A man came to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he says, Man ahabbun nas, or man ahaq, whom should I respect more and love more? Between the father and the mother here, actually. There's a young man came to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, certainly in order to educate his followers, he's very open and direct. And he said, your mother. And he asked the second time, he said, your mother. He asked again the third time, he said, your mother. And then the fourth time, he said, your father. Now the question here is it a discrimination against the man? No. It is something to educate his followers and to straighten the mindset and the mentality of the men at that time. The women have no dignity, no honor, no respect. And they to say, Rasulullah want to upside that down. Looks like, in order to change something big, you have to be extreme in the process. So Rasulullah sallam looks like extreme in his statement. You have to love your mother 3 times. But not about extremism, it's the reality. The reality is that if you just honest to ourselves, if you see the role of the mother and the father in any human's life, you will find that mother's role is unimaginable, uncomparable, or incomparable. And even to be honest with us as a man, the way we love our children and the way the mothers love their children, there is different. Where is the rahim? It is in the mother's rahim. The word rahim is rahmah. So this is love, and the real unconditional love and compassion is with our mothers. And that's why Rasulullah SAW says, respect, honor, love your mothers even more than your fathers, to change the mindset and the mentality of the Arab at that time. And there are many other hadith, brothers and sisters, mentioned by Rasulullah SAW. Now, at the end, not at the end actually, because I still have time. Normally the lecture is for 45 minutes or even more, right? Let me clarify some issues that many people tend to misunderstand in Al-Islam. And of course, we can discuss about this, or we may have different opinions on certain issues. But let's begin with the issue of inheritance, where the Quran says that the woman's right to inheritance is half of the man. So men one, half for the woman. Is it discrimination? It is inequality or unequal treatment. Certainly not. If we just understand the structure of the responsibilities within the family life, who is responsible to provide? And that is the meaning of ar-rijalu qawwamuna 'ala an-nisa. Qawamun is not a privilege, it is a responsibility. It is a responsibility. Qawamun cannot be used as an evidence dalil to suppress the woman, but to honor the woman. That we must provide, we must maintain, we must give her rights. That is the meaning of qawama in Islam. So when we come to the issue of inheritance, in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what men looks are given more compared to the woman because of their responsibility. Now, what happens if, let's say, you have a daughter and you have a son, and your daughter is lucky enough to marry someone who is rich, and your son, mashallah, is struggling economically? There are some solutions. You can do wasiyat up to 1/3. Islam always has a solution there. There will be no zulm happen in the Islamic Sharia. The point in the Islamic Sharia is justice. This is the first clarification. I don't want to be prolonged, but of course people can debate. Now the issue of polygamy here, that man can, in Islam, can marry up to 4. Of course, yeah, it is mentioned in the Quran. And in no way I will say it is not right, it is not correct. It is true, it is in the Holy Quran. But this verse of the Holy Quran must be understood and practiced on the basis of circumstances surrounding the verse itself. And it talk about yatama, it talk about orphans, it talk about widows, and so on and so forth. In a situation where there is a social need that you need to solve certain problems through multiple marriages, that's why Islam has come for. But oftentimes this one is used for certain purposes only, for our own. Sorry, for the Muslim men like myself maybe, and some of us, we tend to want to marry more and more because of the desire. Islam is not about personal desire. It is a solution. And so once again, yes, it's a solution. And if why you want to say this, you can read what is going on in the Western society, including here in America, that man can have multiple relationships but claim to be only having one wife. You can have girlfriends, you can have whatever partners out there, but you are not allowed to have more than one wife. If you are an employee in New York City, for example, you can have what's it called, spouse rights, like insurance, and then there's one called partners insurance. So actually they allow that. I'm a chaplain, so I know that right. I'm a chaplain with the New York City. So I know that I can give to my wife an insurance, and also there is a right to give to the partners. So look at that, So it is just something that we need to be honest here. Now, according to the leadership, there are some discussion about can the woman to be leader in the Muslim society. And of course, certainly, brothers and sisters, discussion happened among the Muslim scholars. But in the majority of the Muslim scholars say that women, when they have their capacity, they can be leaders, because leadership is based on capacity. And Aisha radiallahu anha led the Muslim woman. Aisha radiallahu anha, she was a leader on many sectors of life, in education and even militarily speaking. Aisha was leading, and I'm not going to delve into that discussion about either she is right or wrong against Ali radiallahu anhu. And the next one is hijab and modesty. I don't have to talk about this, but this is an issue that's misunderstood, President. And there are many others, but because of the time, I think a lot of the accusation Islam oppresses a woman. Woman in Islam is inferior to the man. Women are forbidden from. We talk about education and a lot of stuff. Actually, accusations are taking place in many society against Islam. Either it is out of ignorance, or either it is intentionally to damage the beautiful face of Islam, or because of mixed practices happen in some majority Muslim lands. Let me just give you one example. Ad-darb, fadribuhun. That when you have a problem with your wife, according to the Holy Quran, number one, advise, admonish. If she didn't change, if she doesn't change, then separation on the bed, not sleeping together. And if still doesn't happen, then according to the fadribuhunna. Now, what is the meaning of wadribuhunna? Now, in the translation of the meaning, hitting him, beat her. And this is actually taken sometimes literally by some, and strictly by some, that you are allowed to beat or hit a woman if she doesn't obey you. Actually, brothers and sisters, if you study the Arabic language, the word darbun has at least 27 meanings. For darbun fil ardi, or daraballahu mathalan kalimatan tayyiba. Allah hitting kalima tayyiba. So the Arabic language is so unique. More than 27 meanings. Like, for example, when Rasulullah talked about kid, murusi bayanakum bis salati inda sab'in. Order your kid to pray when they are 7. Wadribu alayhinna inda ashrin. If they are 10 and they still don't pray, hit them. Darb. What is the meaning of darb here? Are you going to beat your kids in America? You're going to be jailed tomorrow. The kids are going to call the police. The 911. My father hit me. And then the police are coming and arrest you and jail you. And so the meaning of darb is very wide range. And I think we have to understand that basic on the context of proper understanding and benefit for the interpretation of Al-Islam itself. So I think I would like to end up to here, and we can have some discussion. I know some faces here are scholars like Imam Karim, and I think Imam Abdul Awal also here, if not mistaken, and some other Imams are coming in. We can discuss about this particular issue, particularly that we are still in the days of conference at the United Nations. And the reason I'm choosing this topic, because if you may observe the way I'm lecturing at the United Nations, I always want to be something, timingly contextual. I don't want to talk something which is beyond context. So this is the Women's Week. So it is very important to discuss about the women's right in Islam, inshallah. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Thank you so much, Imam Shamsi Ali, for this wonderful enlightenment on the status of women in the society, in Islam, because Islam is the society. Islam covers everything. Sometimes when we talk to people, we tell them that whatever you think happening and will happen, Islam has covered it. So as you rightly mentioned, the United Nations globally is preparing to host women in New York City at the UN headquarters to discuss status of women, issues concerning women, their rights, whatever they think. And you have touched all the areas that necessarily need to be understood this morning, this afternoon, this evening. Alhamdulillah, my fellow Muslims, I will just add a little thing, or for the sake of emphasis of what the Imam says. If you look at the problem we Islam facing today when it comes to status of women, I think it is just a mere misunderstanding and a propaganda of the media to tarnish the image of Islam, making it look as if women have been considered wrongly or disrespectful in the beautiful religion Islam. Contrary to that, if you look at it, there's no society, there's no faith, there's no group, there's no organization that actually respect women like Islam. If you go by history, during the period of Jahiliyyah, pre-Islamic period, women were treated like animals. Women were not given any respect. Even the Arabic countries, location, communities, women, and in those days, are being given as inheritance. A child can inherit his stepmother. Women are being allowed to walk naked in the side, outside the compound. Even around Makkah in those days, women were treated basically like animals. It is Islam, the coming of Islam, the coming of the message of beloved Prophet Mohammed sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that stop all those maltreatment and ensure or apply the right of women. Women enjoy their right in Islam more than any other society. Imam has mentioned everything. Nobody limit a woman from the pursuit of education, because Allah has said it, that we have been created from the same soul. We have been created to, the man is to provide garment to the woman is to provide garment to the man. We are equal in reward. We are equal in worship. As a matter of fact, women enjoy certain privileges when it comes to worship, because during that period, they have been way fasting, they've been way praying, although later they can pay. These are privileges even a man does not enjoy. So women personality has been given so much esteem high in our beautiful religion, Islam. In Islam, it is the man, it is the father and the husband and the brother as to provide security for the woman. But the media, the society will not understand all these things. They will paint to look as if we are Muslim, we are forcing our women to wear hijab, we are denying them from going outside to feel free or to do what they want to do. It is not freedom. It is not the right, because they need to understand the difference between what Islam says and the difference between what the society said. And when you look at every single thing Islam teaches us, it is for the good of the society. When you see all this wearing of hijab, covering a woman, protecting a woman, keeping a woman behind, not in front, not to be leading, it's nothing. It's just to provide a shield for the woman. It's not to deprive her from her right, in my understanding. Imam, you can correct me. It is a shield. It's to protect them. It is an honor. We are the one that, as man, you are the one that will go out there to provide for a woman. So we have equality in everything, equality in education, equality in worship, equality in reward. And that's why if you look at it in the Quran, Allah warned, anytime Allah is speaking to, he said men and women, meaning we receive the same award, will be rewarded equally and will be punished equally. Jahannama is for everyone who disobey Allah. Al-Jannah is for everyone who obey Allah. There's nothing different where, okay, a woman will go to Jahannam, a man will not go. It's equal. If the woman even strive well, she may even enjoy this thing more than us, because we do more in the interest of the woman, as described and as explained by our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In many occasions, the Prophet also said, for example, any father who is able to raise two daughters, you raise them in according to Islam. Inshallah, because of those two daughters, it may be a source of equal to Al-Jannah. He didn't say if you raise two boys. What does it mean? It means a woman is acknowledged. It means a woman is respected. Like the Imam says, paradise lies under the feet of mother. And in many occasions, again, the Prophet mentioned mother before father. That doesn't mean the father doesn't have a right. That doesn't mean the father is not recognized. But those are to tell you how Islam places the personality, the virtue of a woman above anything. So even when it comes to inheritance, sometimes it's a big topic that sorry for that interruption. When it comes to inheritance, we all know that the woman benefit the share of a woman, sometimes you see that, okay, it's less than man. But when you see at the end of the day, what is expected for you to do as part of responsibility, you are the one to cover it. My sister is going to get married, even though she and her and me, we are siblings, we receive, I get my inheritance from our late father more than her, but certain responsibility, when she's going to get married, I'll be responsible for making sure she get married. I will provide, and she have to keep her money. A wife is working. It's not a right to provide or to give the husband the salary. It is up to the understanding of them. All this is just to tell you how a woman enjoys liberty, how a woman is free, how a woman is being respected in our beautiful religion, Islam. So our greatest enemy is the media, who portray this to look as if we do not respect women or we depriving women their right. Look at it, even here in our community here in the United States. For how many years up to today, a woman has not been given opportunity to voice. I understand historically, we know that women were not even in the past allowed to vote. All this is things that Islam has been preached. Islam has given the right long time before all this is. But they will not mention it because they want to turn in the image of Islam. They want to make it look as if women are being denied their right in Islam. At the same time, sometimes again, they have this clue from our ignorant brothers and sisters. Our action, sometimes it also portray to show that, okay, we deny their women the right, but it is not. So this is just a few things that I think I will add, and Imam Karim, I'm sure you will shed more light on this important topic.
Thank you, Abdul Salam. Nice to see you, Imam Shamsi Ali, long time ago. It's great. I apologize for being late. I had something that kept me from joining you, but joined you in time. What Imam Shamsi Ali said, something was very wise and very true. That we have to put in the context of the 7th century, 6th century. But let's fast forward. The woman has 4 qualities or 4 states. She can be a mother, a wife, a daughter, and a sister. That's how we think of her. As a mother, as a wife, the Quran said, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ مِنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً بَيْنَكُمَا. Said from his wonders, ayat, is that he has created from you wives, so you have to find tranquility next to them. So a wife is a person next to whom you find tranquility, with whom you have affection, and to whom you have mercy. And I would like to say a difference between love and affection. Love has an antonym called hate. Affection, mawadda, it has no antonym. If you open the dictionary, it doesn't have any antonym. So affection has a spiritual component also. You are attracted to them. So in the marriage, it's a blessing. Now, as far as the 4 wives, I would like to say that it is in a context. It's not absolute. It's a woman. وَإِن خِفْتُمْ أَلَا تُقْسِطُوا فِي الْيَتَامَى. He ties it to the orphans. فَانكَحُوا مَا طَوَلْتُم مِنَ النِّسَاءِ وَثَنُوا صَلَاةً. That's if and then. We engineer when we write computer programs, say if and then. If less than 0, you do this, you do that. If you are worried about not being fair to the orphans, then fa, it's if and fa. وَإِن فَانكَحُوا. So I translate, I'm doing a translation, and if I'm right, may God bless me. If I'm wrong, may He forgive me. I think this will address that if you want to be fair to a orphan that you adopt, and at the time, orphans were people at the 6th century who lost their fathers, then you may marry their mothers. This way, you are very fair to the orphan you adopt because you bring his mother next to him. That's another explanation. Now, as far as mother, I would like to share something with you. It's very, the Arabic language is known to use pictures with words. In the Quran, we always describe things. I think about 20 years ago, on Mother's Day, I was called by group of ladies in Greenwich. They asked me to come and talk about Mother's Day. And I thought, what could I say? How could I be unique as a Muslim? How could I impress them as a Muslim? Then I am exposing a side of me that is, I like to write poetry. I wrote a poem about mothers. And at the end, all of them were crying, their mascara running on their cheeks. And what I did, I imagined the feeling of the fetus in his mother's womb. Why? Because when a baby cries, anybody who holds him, he wouldn't stop. My mother holds him to her chest, to her breast, he stops. Why? He remembers her heart beat when he was in the womb. So I said the following, and this is describing the feeling of the fetus in his or her mother's womb. Your heartbeat I could hear because my word was so near. Surely I could not breathe, but my love was at ease in such a wonderful world. Yes, I felt like a bird afraid to leave its nest. I was living my best 9 months to motherhood. Mind you, I had no toy to play with and enjoy. It felt so great and so good to live inside of you and feel your love so true. My world was like a dream, yet everything did seem amazingly so real. I never ate one meal that was able to grow from my head to my toe. For God, blessed his name, created us the same, that we blossom and bloom inside our mother's womb, the most perfect abode, never too hot nor cold, so sheltered from the start, nearby our mother's heart. Will you join me and say to mother, I would say now every day, at the time I said to mother on her day, thank you, mother, so much for whatever you touch does overflow with love from Almighty above. This is an honor to the mothers. Personally, I owe everything to my mother. So we have sisters, we have wives, we have mothers, we have daughters. أقرب إلى النساء أحسنكم إلى نسائهم أكرم إلى الله. The closest of you to God are those who are kind to their women, نسائهم, not wives. That includes wife, daughter, sister, and mother. And Islam has honored the mother when he said, paradise lies under the feet, the souls of the mothers. I cannot add more to what Imam Shamsi has said, my brother, my very dear brother. So we are blessed to be Muslims. We are blessed to have Islam. And we should not have only faith, we should have certitude. Faith could go up and down, depending on the situation, but certitude is straight. As a Muslim, I'm certain of everything I read in the Quran. I'm certain of your friendship, certain of brotherhood, sisterhood, anything. It's great to be a Muslim. It's a blessing to be a Muslim. It is vitamins to the soul, to the nafs, to read the Quran.
MashaAllah. Thank you so much, Imam Abdul Karim, for this wonderful contribution. Kindly share the beautiful poem. Okay, somebody just sent something. Thank you. I don't know if anyone have something to contribute. I have a few questions here anyway.
Yes.
But because
Mother.
Yes, good mother.
Assalamu alaikum to all of you. I'm on my way to the United Nations. As you know, the women are gathering. And today is International Women's Day around the world. And I will be at the hotel to greet them and make them feel at home of being in the United States and doing their work at the United Nations. Queen Mother, thank you for the message today and the role of the woman and who she is. She is the mother that nurtures all life and nurtures spiritual life as well. So Queen Mother, I want to say to the Imam, the lesson today that you impart with us to remember that as nurturers, we need to be endowed by our children and understanding who they are and how God, Allah, has placed us in a special position of life as a mother and as a daughter, a sister, the girl child, how precious she is in the sanctuary and the spiritual force of God Allah. I thank you for allowing Queen Mother to speak on this day and hearing your voice and your inspiration. I am so pleased. Ramadan Mubarak.
Ramadan Mubarak.
Thank you so much, Queen Mother. It is always a pleasure hearing from you. And inshallah, we shall meet at the United Nations too. Imam, before if anybody have something to say, somebody is asking that recently here in the West, I observe how people are taking Shahada. I don't know if there's a modification because I've had Shahada, including Prophet Isa alayhi salam, is added to the Shahada. What do you have to say on that?
Yeah, actually, the fundamental shahada is, as we know, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. When we say both sentences, everything is included. But when someone adds, let's say, wa ashhadu anna Isa Abdullahi wa Rasuluhu, and I bear witness that Isa is the servant of Allah and his messenger, it is just to emphasize, because by saying wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, everybody is included there. You know, we witness about Musa and Harun and others also. So it is just an emphasis, but it is not something that you have to say it. Some say that when a Christian converted or reverted to Islam, then you say that particular statement, wa anna Isa Abdullahi wa Rasuluhu, because originally he believed that Isa is a son or incarnated God himself. So it is very important to emphasize that they are now not believing anymore in that faith, in that belief. So it is just an emphasis. It is not something that is a must. And so nothing wrong to say that. But once again, the original Shahada is Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. If you want to say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh, that's fine as well. So it is just a kind of emphasis and to emphasize on something due to the context, for example, the Christian, because he used to believe in Isa as not as a servant, but he is a son or incarnated God himself. So it is important to emphasize that now he is not in that faith anymore.
Shukran Jazira. The other question, somebody is asking, Imam, does the woman have the right to seek for divorce?
Certainly, yes. If based on the Sharia, that she is allowed to do that, and certainly, yes, of course, it's called al-khulu' in Arabic language. So she can ask for divorce. Traditionally, the woman should ask to the husband, but unfortunately, abuses happen where husband sometimes doesn't give that, even though the women are actually living in hell. In this particular case, the woman should go to the qadi, to the judge, and ask for the divorce, because of the husbands these days are less in faith, less in akhlaq, and sometimes it is really that the woman needs no more need to retain that family life because of the circumstances and the situation. But the husband, he purposely wanted to punish that woman. He doesn't want to give her divorce, and that is the traditional. But so we cannot just follow that particular tradition. You may need to go to the court, and the court has the right to dissolve the marriage. So absolutely, the woman has the right for divorce. Yes.
Thank you so much. Again, somebody is asking, especially based on the right of equal education, equal knowledge. Now, Islam says both men and women have the same opportunity to learn, the same opportunity to pursue education. But why are women not seen as imams? Why are women not leading prayers? Why are women not allowed to stand on the podium and preach?
All right. We must break down these some points. Number one, the word Imam can be defined into different definitions. There is a general definition, which means leader. So woman can be the leader. But when you come to the specific ritual is a very strictly followed the what we call al-iqtida bil kitabi wa sunnah. And because ritual is very limited practices, and it is the foundation of the religion itself. If the ritual is changed according to what we want to do, in the name of, let's say, context, whatever, then religion changes. And that's what's happening in other religious tradition or other faiths. And so prayer is a ritual in Islam, which strictly must be conducted according to the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that has been there from the very beginning. But when we come to the issue of leadership in general, women can be the leaders in the society. She can be the president of the mosque. She can be the chairman of the board of trustees of the mosque. She can be the trustees. She can preach. She can stand in the member for a general lecture, for example. Who say that women cannot? Unfortunately, there's some Muslim society, women are not allowed to be viewed and seen in front of the public, and that's what the issue is. It is more into cultural view. You know, I just remember a few days back, I think I wrote an article about this in our own community, where a woman, I think her husband passed away, and normally in our tradition, in our place, if any person died, a family member can say a few words before the Salatul Janazah. And no one would say a few words except the wife, from different rooms, actually, the second floor. So we give her the microphone. And even that, still people protested it. The women are not supposed to speak. You can imagine that way we see to understand the deen. So again, you know, we have to be very careful in distinguish or differentiating between what is religion actually and what is cultural in our society. And so women can be the leader, can give lecture in front of the public. And even in America, alhamdulillah, Islamic Society of North America, ISNA, Dr. Ingrid Mattson was the president, happened to be a woman. Alhamdulillah, in many Muslim society, women are taking a leadership. I think in some African majority countries, there is a woman president. I forgot that country, but
Tanzania.
Tanzania. Yeah, this one of, because she is capable. And so again, you know, there is no doubt that Islam gives wide opportunity for the woman to play an important role in the public life. And why we are still questioning about why women are not leading salat in the masjid. And that is a very limited role, and that is a ritual. That is the foundation of the deen, that if it changes, the deen will change, the religion will change itself, as we see that in many religions.
Thank you so much, Imam. Imam Karim, you want to add something?
No, I agree with Imam Shamsi completely. I don't like to repeat things. If I have something new to add, yes. I don't have anything new.
Imam, the other question here, somebody is asking that does my husband have the right to deny me working?
To deny me walking or working?
Working, like to work. My woman probably that she want to work in the government, but the husband said, no, I don't want you to work.
Absolutely. The husband doesn't have the right to deny your right to work. But within the family life, husband and wife is like one body. Hunna libasul lakum wa antum libasul lahunna. You are complementing each other. So you have to agree upon things that you're going to do together. Because family life is a joint responsibility. And being a woman, you have responsibilities to make your family better. And if you want to divide the jobs, that is fine. But if in the position that really you are obligated to help the family because the husband, let's say, have limited resources, limited capacity to provide, then absolutely you have to agree on that. There is no right to, the husband doesn't have any right to prohibit the woman to work. You know, Islam in general doesn't have any prohibition for the woman to work. There are some, of course, ethical issues that is surrounding that need to be preserved. For example, in public place where the man and woman should be together, there are certain Islamic rulings that need to be taken care, they take into consideration. But coming to the foundation itself, fundamentally, husband has no right to prohibit the woman to work. And particularly also, there are some fields that women are essentially needy. You know, in the how you call this, women they give on delivery baby, how you call this? In the hospital, for example, in that particular department, the best person to handle the woman who delivered the baby is a woman. And that's why we need the woman there. The nurses, for example. Or early child education. It is so important for the woman to involve because the woman have compassion more than the man. You can imagine if the man is teaching kindergarten, you know, very easily emotional. It's not easy to handle a small kids, for example. So we need our sisters there. There are many things that our sisters can play. They are half of ours. You can imagine, brothers and sisters. So it's very important that don't have that mindset that women must be just behind the door. They must be, you know, at home. They have no right to work. No, it's not Islam is all about.
Thank you so much, Imam. The final question I have here so far, I don't know if anyone will come. My husband is not playing his responsibility at home. He's not paying the children's school fees. He's not bringing food in the house with the claim that I make more money than him. What should I do in this situation?
Your money is yours, and your husband's money is all belong to the members of the family. So your husbands must provide the family's needs. That is what Islam, and that's why when we talk about inheritance, for example, that's the justice in Islam. You know, and so there is no reason, it is not a reason for a husband not to provide simply because his wife has income or even more income. In Islamic law, her income is hers and husband's income is for all. That's what it is. That is the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we are here mustaslim. We are here surrendering to the wills of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we cannot just say, you know, my wife has income, so I don't. In America, unfortunately, we see a different culture. You go to the restaurant, husband and wife, and you see the bills, both must take out the wallet. You know, in the Islamic society, it's a shame on the husband. If you go to the restaurant and your wife should pay, because you are responsible to pay for your wife. That's what it is. That's what it is. And that's why from the very beginning, you are tested. What is the test? Al-mahar. Al-mahar. Are you ready to provide? And if you are not ready to provide, don't marry. When you pay mahar, that is the beginning of your responsibility that you are going to provide all the way. All the way. Even one day your wife will have her own income. That's what it is. So we must accept the law of Islam.
Alhamdulillah. Imam, before I even forget, there's a request that if you can kindly share the poem you mentioned. You know, Ari, you can ask a question.
Yes, thank you. I have a question, Imam Shamsi Ali. As we know in the history, Islamic history, we know some figure like Fatima Al-Fihri, the founder of Al-Jami'ah fi Karawiyin, and so many Muslim women have impact to science, to leadership, and etc. So my question is, nowadays, how to train, how to educate our daughter to be a real Muslimah or to be a new scientist maybe in the future, in the age, in the teenage age, in the teenage age. So because for me, I think it's a different to educate my daughter when she was in the 10 first of the 10 years, and after that, or in the teenage age. So how to educate our daughter in the teenage age? Thank you.
How to educate our daughters during their teenage age. But coming back to first into the point you mentioned that I didn't have a chance to mention about the role of women in many aspects of human's life, including education. And when you talk not only Fatima, who built Al-Qarawin in Morocco, but also when you go back to the life of Rasulullah from Khadija radiallahu anha, or even beyond that, when you talk about Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, there's a mother and a sister, actually. It's the story in the Holy Quran. His father is not mentioned that much in the Holy Quran. And then you talk about Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam, it's a mother. Ibrahim was away until his teenage age. And then you talk about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's his mother until 6 years, of age, and the mother who breastfed him, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So all mothers are playing an important role in those big religious individuals in the history of the religions. Now coming back to Fatima, coming back to the role of Aisha radiallahu anha in knowledge. Among the 4 most narrators of the hadith, Fatima's is number 3 after Abu Huraira and Abdullah ibn Abbas. Fatima is number 3. And Fatima was not Fatima, Aisha radiallahu anha. And Fatima also, the daughter of Rasulullah, plays such an important role. And Maryam alayhi salatu wasalam, the mother of Isa. So, I mean, when you talk about Islam and the woman, there is no doubt that the woman plays such an important role in the life of, in our life in general. Now, Fatima, who built Al-Qarawin, certainly is something that we need to mention every time. And I hope the Muslim ladies who are speaking at the United Nations this week should mention that when the Western society are so proud of the achievement of education for the woman, in fact, the first woman who built university is Fatima. What is the last name of Fatima?
Al-Fihri.
Al-Fihri of the Al-Qarawin, the Moroccan. We must be proud. We must be proud of that, and so on and so forth. So, coming to the question how to educate our daughters during teenage, of course, it's not easy, particularly in this era where advancement of technology, particularly in the field of informations and the field of media, particularly social media, it's not easy. But again, we are not here to complain about the advancement of technology, because it is a blessing also if we can use it in the right place. So we must use it in the right place. I think the father and mother must be, the most important here is, as Rasulullah says, Murisu biyanakum bis salati inda sab'in. And I understand this hadith is not only about salat, ruku, and sujood, but it means educate your children as early as possible. Don't wait, because sometimes you say, oh no, he is still 7, he is still 6, he is still 5. Nowadays, the 3 years daughter or boy just become like 8 years old. The 8 years old become like 18 years old because of the advancement of technology. So don't be late at all. We have to educate them as early as possible. If we are late, we are going to just regret, and that's what it is. So again, yes, there are many, many challenges, but at the same time, there are many opportunities actually that you can utilize to educate them.
Thank you so much, Imam Shamsi Ali.
May I say something?
No.
We are really almost losing our Islamic identity being in the West. It's the way you phrase things. They control the dialogue. Now, number one, when you talk about human rights in the West, the individual is the nucleus of society. In Islam, the family is the nucleus of society. That's very important. And the family is made of 2 components, man and woman. They become husband and wife, and ultimately they become fathers and mothers. Mother can work, should work, as long as it does not affect the raising of the children. But this is our main thing. الأم مدرسة إذا أعددت شعبا طيب الأخلاق. Say mother is a school. If you really arrange it and bring it, you can bring a whole generation. Now, when in the concept of husband and wife, they're not equal, they're complementary, they complement each other. In chemistry, even it's a rule of nature. You have hydrogen and oxygen. When they mix, they become water. Same thing when man and woman get together and get married, then you have a family. And this family has rights and privileges. As far as knowledge, the first of the Quran was read. It said read for the man, not read for the women. So they have mostly very, very sacred roles that complement each other. And as far as spending money, I agree completely with Imam Shamsi that the woman has no obligation to spend any money regardless of how rich they is. In fact, they think that if she helps her husband, it's a sadaqah.
Thank you, Imam Karim. Thank you so much. Is there any other question, any contribution, any concern? Alhamdulillah, my fellow Muslims. In conclusion, what we try to cover this morning, this afternoon, this evening is just to highlight the importance, the status of women in our beautiful religion, Islam. And we just we did this so that it will give us the ability to understand the position of women and to refrain from dancing into what the media is saying, the ways it's criticizing, and for women to be warned, stick to what the religion says. Do not allow yourself, just because you are in this part of the world and you see what the community is saying, they will put into you and pollute your mind that you have the right to do, don't agree your husband not to do this, don't agree this to this or this. Islam has explained everything clearly. Nobody respects a woman like Islam. Nobody honor Muslim women in this world like our beautiful religion, Islam. You are right and freedoms are there, but it's within the teaching of the Sharia. It's not within the teaching of the society of the day. What Sharia said, what Islam said is what we should abide with. Do not allow them to brainwash you, feeling like, oh, you have the right to do this, you have the right to go out. Wearing hijab is not a modern way of life. No. I also want the poem. Oh, Imam, people asking for the poem. Imam Karim, Imam Shamsi Ali.
What's that?
The poem you mentioned about women, they're asking for it.
No, it is
That's
rather
Imam
Imam
Karim.
Karim. It's rather
Imam
Imam
Karim's,
Karim.
yeah, Imam Karim's poem. Yeah.
No.
He can share that later, inshallah.
So to all of us, women, understand your status in Islam, play your role as a wife and as a mother, seek Al-Jannah through your husband and through your children and your parents. The same thing applicable to the men. Respect the women in the house, respect your daughters, respect your sisters, respect your mothers. And we play in accordance to what the Sharia says. With this, I will say Imam Shamsi Ali, you will give us the closing prayers.
All right, inshallah, brothers and sisters, at the end, we humble ourselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, praying that may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us in this month of Ramadan, accept our fast, accept our ibadat. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us healthy, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always protect us from all evils and help our brothers and sisters around the world, everywhere else, those who are struggling for their rights, and particularly those who are in Gaza and Palestine and different parts of the world who are still suffering. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ease their difficulties and burdens and help them to get their freedom that they are struggling for and justice. Allahumma ameen. Alhamdulillah bil alameen hamdan yuafi ni'amahu kafi mazidah. Allahumma rabbana lakal hamd wa lakal shukru kama yanbaghi li jalali wajhikal karim wa 'azimi sultanik. اللهم ربنا تقبل منا صلاتنا وصيامنا وقيامنا وركوعنا وسجودنا وتخشعنا وتضرعنا وتمم تقصيرنا يا الله يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا. اللهم والجنة والنار. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون. سلام على المرسلين. الحمد لله رب العالمين.
Amen. Amen. Amen.